Welcome to Miracle Moment. This is the new mommy season that will absolutely rock your world, up-level your mama game, and skyrocket your business. I'm your host, Ray Ireland, and brand new mama. Like every new mama out there, I enjoyed those quiet, precious moments of those first few months. But after that, there was this stirring in my heart to lean back into business and activate my entrepreneurial brain. I went into a business partnership with a financially failing podcast production company and turned it into a multi-six-figure production house with over 65 million downloads in just a few months. It's been a roller coaster, and I've learned some unforgettable lessons. As a mamapreneur, I know how challenging it can be to balance work, family, and self-care and still see the everyday miracles. So each week, I'll share stories of women who have defied the odds to pursue their dreams of motherhood while also building successful businesses. This show will open your eyes so you can see the miracles around you. With more awareness, more miracles will show up. Light a fire in your soul, mamas. You deserve it. Here we are with another episode featuring an incredible guest, Keira Brinton. Her and I connected just about a month or two ago in San Diego via this really cool, amazing mastermind all around health and entrepreneurship. And we sat together at a dinner table, and almost immediately I'm like, this woman is cool. And of course, as we started talking, I got to hear more of her story and what she's up to in the world. And there were some really cool synchronicities and also a lot of inspiration that I got from this woman. I was simultaneously, like, on a total side note, Sammy and I had been talking about how big do we want to grow our family? And I had jokingly said 5 kids. I'm like, not really, but Sammy's more on the edge of like, I'm good with 1 for right now. We'll see. And I'm like, I want a big family. So literally that day before we met Kiera, I said, I want 5 kids. And we just laughed because we were like, that is just nuts. And then we sit down at dinner and here's Kiera, and she's telling us all this amazing stuff about what she's doing. She is the founder of JOA Publishing. She's a book medium, which we'll talk about what that is later. She's written 5 books. And then, of course, just to top it off, she has 5 kids. Kiera, thank you so much for being on the Miracle Moment. We're going to dive into all things around the book side, around being an entrepreneur, around being a mom of 5 kids. I called you a professional mom right before we started recording. You're like, I don't know if that is the title, but I think you've just been around the block, and I can't wait to get some tools and tips from you and get to hear some fun stories. So thanks so much for being on.
My gosh, I'm so excited. The minute I met you, I was like, oh, we're going to be friends. I knew it. We're going to be friends. And I'm just so happy to be here.
Awesome. So let's start off. Tell us a little bit about your story because it is really impactful. And then we'll kind of go into the other stuff from there.
My story. What story are you wanting? I have lots of stories. The story that I had at dinner?
Yeah, like the juice.
Let's do it. Right.
Just tell us who you are, and then we'll be able to weave in some questions around being such a deeply aligned soul and spirit in terms of your purpose on the planet, and then how that reflects and relates to being a mom as well, while balancing business. You're just doing so much, and you look amazing. So for those of you, like, I can see your video right now. I'm like, you look amazing. How do I do this?
I will say this, that I actually have changed the way I look. My cells changed 7 years ago. So if you were to see pictures of me 7 years ago, I look nothing like I do now. And it's not because I have plastic surgery. It's not because of anything. It is literally what I truly believe a spiritual awakening does, which is it totally changes you down to your cells. And so I look younger now than I did 7 years ago, which is wild to me.
So cool.
Which is just so wild. So I got married at 19. I had 5 kids in 10 years. So I started having kids at 22. I ended at 32. I had kids. I was either nursing or pregnant for a decade.
Wow.
And I will tell you that it was my most tender time. And I miss it. And it was so hard. Right? It was so hard at all times. I had 3 littles at always. And I remember just being so sleep deprived. I remember feeling so lonely, but those times in the middle of the night nursing a baby, there is nothing more sacred to me. And I always just cherish those times. And now they're all old. My oldest is 19. My youngest is almost 9. So we are in this full stage. I've already had my son leave the nest. He lives in Nashville. He's a musician. And that's a grief that no one tells you about. No one tells you. No one tells you about the grief of your oldest leaving. And the desire to have them spread their wings, right? It's like both and. Never leave me, and you better get your ass out the door. You know what I mean? Like, go chase your dreams, and I wish you never had to leave.
Yeah. I mean, we're like literally starting off this conversation with tears already. And like, I think it is the both and, being so in it, hearing your reflection even after all this time. Yes, I'm feeling the sleep deprivation, and those 3 a.m. cuddles literally break your heart open because it's the best thing ever. So it's like, I just call it such an expander to become a mom, because you just feel every single edge of your being.
It really is. And I actually would say having 5 kids in 10 years teed me up to be a really successful entrepreneur, because I was able to multitask at high levels always. And I had an endurance that was out of control. You start at 6 a.m., you don't go to bed till 10, and you're up 3 times in the middle of the night. Yeah. I don't know what else preps you for entrepreneurship. Like, this is a piece of cake. You know? Yeah. Running your publishing house is easy.
You're like, what? This is all I have to do. Sammy will always joke, especially those first few months, they were Navy SEAL training.
Yes. And it really, I mean, I think mothers of multiple children are the best entrepreneurs in training, really, because you're always solving problems. You're always trying to come up with better ways. You're always trying to create. That's just what's happening all day long. So that's like a little bit of my pre-entrepreneurship life, except I always was an entrepreneur. I was a massage therapist. I always had my own business. Then I started to become a photographer. So I always was like in the hustle on the side. But 7 years ago, I'd had all this trauma as a kid. And even though I had dealt with it, what I thought I had dealt with it, it was not. And it was like deep core wounds. And I had some situations in life that triggered the wounds open. And they were so painful that I actually tried to commit suicide. And in that moment, I feel as though God said, stop. You have work to do. And so in that moment, I chose to live. And in the moment of choice, I also made a declaration, commitment. I would even dare say a covenant, that I would do whatever God asked me to do from that moment on. If I was going to stay in this hellhole of a place of suffering and trauma and pain, then surely I would need to do something that called me into being.
Yeah.
And that is a moment I would say I changed at a cellular level in that moment.
Wow. Such a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that and that key moment. And as you lived that out, as you began in the practice of it, because a lot of listeners probably know my story is very similar. And I remember that choice moment where I said, I'm choosing to live. Amazing. I felt free because I finally made that choice. But all the years after, it's like the recommitment to that choice. So what did that look like for you as you recommitted to that distinction? What shifted and changed, and how was that journey of recommitment?
And I know it is a recommitment. So that wasn't the first time I dealt with suicide. It was my first time attempting. It was not my first time having ideation. I'd been struggling since 14 with suicide ideation. So it had a very strong brain path. It was very strong inside of me. So it's not like that day went and then I never dealt with suicide ideation again. It actually just became a choice to live. Every day I woke up and I chose to live. It was a choice. It was a choice. And I feel like that's the gift that suicide ideation brings, is on the flip side, it becomes a choice. You don't just wake up and live. No, we choose it. And it was like, I choose this life. And I noticed that if I did whatever I was divinely inspired to do, then I had more joy. I had more creation. I had more inspiration, and creation began to heal. It healed the spaces of suicide ideation. So I was always in wild creation because it gave me life.
Yeah.
So I started to write a book, and then I started a publishing house. And it was because everything was shown to me in visions, and I was committed to doing what I was shown. And it was like one thing after another. It was just this domino effect.
And how were you receiving those visions? Were you specifically searching for them? Were you creating them? Or did you feel like they were coming to you?
At first, it just came. It was almost like that commitment that I would do whatever God asked me to do opened up this portal of visions. And visions is how I receive. So everyone spiritually receives with their own gifts, and just my gifts are visions. Some people are more audible. Some people can feel, I see. I remember this very strong surge through my body. Like, I have to write a book. Why would I write a book? So then I began to ask, what book? So I did ask. I said, so every day I prayed, what book do you want me to read? And I remember driving down the street and a vision came in. And I saw the top of my cover. Like it was a movie. I saw from the top to the bottom, and it was like an unveiling. So I'm reading the words in this vision, and it says the hidden gifts within the trauma of sexual abuse. Wow. I was like, oh, I'm not writing that book. You got to be kidding me. It's the last
not
book
that assignment.
The worst book I've ever heard. That was my trauma. I had all this childhood sexual abuse. And so I began to receive it. I would pray and I would ask what needs to be written, and then it would come through. And then it was the same thing with the publishing house. I felt this deep knowing, you need to start a publishing house. And I remember seeing the words. My publishing house used to be called Freedom House. And I remember seeing the words freedom. And so it's like I would know it, and then I would see the vision. But then past that, it became a daily ask, which is something I actually live by every day, which is I ask God, what's the number one most important thing you need me to do today? And I hear it, and then I do it. Yeah.
That is such a powerful practice. And because whatever learning style and receiving style you have, just carving out, I mean, it probably takes 1 minute even just to say it, and just to have that bit of silence to let something come in. Can you just say the phrase one more time that you use?
So every day I have a sacred space in my room. And I'm also very visceral. I like to do things that feel like in my body. So I open my palms, literally open my palms.
Wow.
And I ask God, what is the most important thing for me to do today?
Yeah.
Listen.
That is so good.
And sometimes guess what it is?
What?
Take a nap.
Sometimes
it's eat some food. Oh my gosh, thank you. I just needed to remember. It's not earth shattering. Go change the fucking world every day. Go take a nap, Kiera. I'm like, I will do that. But sometimes it is write this profound statement that you received last night. Go talk to this person. And sometimes it's like, you haven't emailed this person back. This is the most important thing. So it's the practice, and I live by this 3-part practice, and I swear by this. This is the magic in my life, which is I ask, I listen, and I do. And that's it.
And I just love how simple it is. I think as a new mom, even just today, I was going through my to-do list and looking at any reoccurring task. I'm like, what can we just delegate or take off? And it's all about removing things off the plate, because there's more that gets put on the plate every single day as Rafa grows or as the company grows. So we always need to be releasing. So that simplicity of just ask, listen, do feels so achievable.
Yeah. And I always say, if you're not receiving answers, it's not because you're not holy enough. It's not because you're not good enough. It's most likely because you haven't asked.
So good.
Yeah.
So powerful. So you use this practice, and you're shared about your first book. Now you've written 5 books. You have the publishing house. There's all these things, and there's even the center that you're working on. Do you want to speak into that a little bit? Because kind of tie in the story.
The center is, I had this rise, the climax. I found the building, and then it was like, I got real with myself. And I don't usually live in the realm of reality, but I had to. I was like, I'm a single mom. I have 5 kids. We have 22 books being published right now. And I am the lead of this publishing house. And it was like, is it possible for me to open a center in this exact moment? And it was like, no, it's not. but that doesn't mean it's not. So it is coming forward. And these centers are going to be beautiful places. They're going to be called the Phoenix, a sanctuary of hope. I want them in every state of the United States. There will be a place that helps people learn how to take care of their nervous system in a way that helps them if they have anxiety, depression, stress. And ultimately, the deep-seated core is to help anybody who's struggling with suicide ideation learn how to navigate their nervous system so that they can choose to live. As that's what I learned to do, was like, if I could take care of my nervous system and it wasn't running hot, it's very easy to always choose life. It's when the nervous system gets burned out, taxed, worn out, exhausted, that when any of those thoughts come in, you don't have the immunity and the strength to choose life. So those will come through.
Hey there, fabulous mamapreneurs. I've got something super special for you. Introducing Giggles and Growth, hilarious reflection prompts for the mamapreneur. So just picture this. You're journaling your way through prompts that have you giggling and reflecting like never before. Ever wondered what your business would say if it could talk? Or how about sharing the funniest thing your kids have ever said about your work? But here's the best part. These prompts aren't just about having a good laugh. They're an incredible investment in yourself and your journey as a mompreneur. Taking time for giggles and growth means giving yourself the gift of self-discovery, clarity, and personal growth. As you reflect on these entertaining prompts, you'll gain valuable insights into your business, your role as a mom and as an entrepreneur, and even find hidden gems of wisdom. And the cherry on top? It's absolutely free. No cost, no catch, just a joy-filled opportunity to embrace laughter while empowering yourself. So what are you waiting for? Unleash your laughter and embrace the growth with Giggles and Growth. Click the link in the show notes or visit www.rayireland.com/giggles-and-growth to grab your copy now. Let's make your entrepreneurial journey even more fabulous. Get your Giggles and Growth freebie today, mamas. You deserve it. Absolutely. And I love, just as we're saying, sometimes we got to take things off the plate. And I think one of the hardest things is sometimes taking things off that feel so important and so connected, but you know that it's not their time yet. And so just having that piece of trust and saying, I'm taking you off the plate right now. But of course, it's something you're never going to forget about or really leave behind. So navigating those waters is definitely a piece of it. And I want to also just circle back into the piece that you were talking about in terms of regulating your nervous system. And I think that goes hand in hand with what you were saying about that practice of asking, what is the one thing I can do? Because it feels like a lot of times God will give us what we need to regulate our nervous system. So if it is that nap or if it is a healthy meal or whatever, and it just feels so true because I've been noticing for myself, and I like to kind of speak for our listeners because I'm very much in it. That's why we're doing the mommy season, because I'm like, help, I need help. We need guests on so they can help me, AKA all of our listeners. And I'm finding my nervous system just totally taxed and totally burnt out. So you have that practice of asking, are there any other specific practices that you use to rejuvenate yourself to have that? And maybe practices that you have now, but also ones that you maybe used or think would have been helpful in the past when you were in that space of really being full-time juggling.
Yeah. And I actually feel like I'm back in it. I'm only a year as a single mom, and it is more taxing now than ever to be the full-time breadwinner and to be their full-time nurturer and also drive them everywhere and cook all their food and get all the food and run a publishing house at the same time. I feel like maybe no one needs me to nurse them or they're crying or no one needs naps. It's the same energy that I once had where it's, holy hell, can I pee? Do I have time to pee? Like the actual thing, when you know? And so my nervous system is of the most importance. And so I have a red light therapy mat Just got it on Amazon, $250, right?
Yeah.
And I sit on it every morning. I lay on it when I do Joe Dispenza meditations every morning. So my sacred practice in the morning is a non-negotiable, and that is an hour long. And people think that's crazy and wild, but it's not for me. That's how much I have to do to take care of my nervous system. So it includes breath work. It includes meditation, red light therapy. It includes a lot of prayer. It includes my own sacred practices. And then I have clients, I drop my kids off. It takes me an hour and a half to take my kids to school and come back home. When I get home, I'm usually booked hour on hour until I have to pick them up. I usually have a 30-minute window somewhere. I go back on the red light therapy and I do another round of breath work. So it is like consistent work throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, I do more breath work and red light or a bath. And I always have to work out, and it has nothing to do with my physique. It has everything to do with my mind.
Totally. I so relate to that.
Yeah. So I know that a lot when people hear that, but I also carry so much that if I do not make my nervous system top priority, there will be cracks in the foundation of my life.
Yeah. And I really feel like most people that are maybe struggling with this and don't have a practice, including myself at the current moment, it's not even, the cracks are happening. And so to hear someone like you that you're really in the dedicated, committed place, I think it's so important. So we can be expanded into what can be possible when you have that type of foundation laid for yourself. I just feel like a lot of people, they're just running. They've never experienced that type of self-care before. So they don't know actually how good they can feel on the other end. And so I think it's, even if you can start with, for me, we were just traveling a ton. And so all my practices got thrown out the window. So, and I noticed my foundation cracked. I was like having many panic attacks and anxiety attacks. I'm like, this is not what I was experiencing when I was home with my practices. So we've been home for a week. So I'm already just like, how do I get back into a little groove? And it literally starts with 5 minutes in the morning. And I'm like, okay, then we can kind of build it up to 10 minutes in next week. And having a gradual buildup can help. But to know and to carry your being a permission slip for so many women that are so busy, holding so much, and just saying, if you're holding that much, hold that much for yourself too. So I just love that.
I want to say this. When our nervous system is taxed, and as mothers, it gets taxed every single day. It's not like an occasion. It's like, no. Every single day. Okay. I don't care if you have one kid or you have 5 kids, your energy will be taxed. What happens is we end up going on our phones and we start scrolling. And what happens is that actually makes it worse in our nervous system. So my invitation is that it's not that you don't scroll, but if one time a day when you go to scroll, if instead you turn on a YouTube Wim Hof video and you do 5 minutes of Wim Hof, or you buy yourself a red light therapy mat and you lay on the red light therapy mat and scroll. It's like there's this trick. And the trick is that numbing will never heal. And so when we go to numb, it's a sign of what do I actually need instead. And sometimes you might need some food. You might need to go set your timer for 15 minutes and take a 15-minute nap. I'm a big believer of a 15-minute nap.
Totally.
So no one has to be as extreme as me, but what I will say is that anything you can do to nourish your own nervous system will always benefit your children, because a mom whose nervous system is nourished is way more patient and calm. And a mom who has a fried out nervous system never shows up the way that she wants to show up.
And you are just so intuitive. And I want to talk about the book channeling to tie that all in, because literally this morning, not even this morning, like 5 minutes before I jumped on to record this, I texted Sammy and I just had to hit. And I said, I need a social media detox because I'm finding myself in the scroll while simultaneously saying I don't have enough time for my practices right now. And so I just told him, I need a social media detox. I still have my show. I still have things going on. So I will only go on to post. And I said, I'm going to do it for November. And then I deleted it and said, I'm going to do it for the rest of the year. Can you hold me accountable? And literally here's my a public announcement for that too. And I think you just nailed it on the head, which is what can you take off your plate? And there's just such a pull into social media and the scroll that I think it almost everyone can say, I can reduce that, even if it's a little bit, to create time for what we need. So amazing that you just shared that. And can you share and talk about your book channeling? And then we'll kind of wrap it up there. But I think this is just so fascinating.
I want to say I have over 500 videos on YouTube of me taking people through sacred practice. So if someone doesn't know how to create a practice, I have 500 videos, 500 different sacred practices, so that you find some that you resonate with and some that you don't. But it's sometimes we need, like why we go to the gym and we have someone train us. It's the same thing. So if someone doesn't even know how to begin, just head over to my YouTube. It's all free. Just go play.
Yeah? Amazing. And that's under your name?
Yeah, it's just under Keira Brinton. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So amazing. Such a beautiful gift. Thank you.
So book channeling. I am a medium, and for a lot of years, those who would pass through the veil would come and give me messages, and I wasn't a fan. I didn't like it. I was like, this isn't fun. I was like up nursing babies and dead people were coming to me, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So I actually asked God to take the gift away. Wrap around 5-6 years later, I ended up coaching somebody, and I used to feel spirits. I felt a book show up, and I could see the pages and I could hear the words, and I was able to help her hear her book. And then it became like, oh, this is my thing. So now I help people one-on-one. I take people on adventures, and we write their books in 5 days, and we channel the whole thing. I also work with all my authors in a mastermind, help them channel their books. It's my favorite thing ever, actually.
It's so cool. And I feel like you did bring in that mama efficiency into your practice and what you share. You're like, all right, we're not going to take 5 years. We're not even going to take 5 months. We're doing it in 5 days.
I know. Totally. It totally is. Someone was saying to me, because I know I help them channel their book in 5 days, but we're going on hikes and we go to yoga and we do all this fun stuff. And someone was like, it's like you're their mom. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my mom skill coming in right here. I'm going to take you on adventures all day and we're going to write your book. Yeah. It felt so accurate when she said that.
I love it. And I think it's such a cool gift to remember that while you're in it. For me, I'm definitely taking time away from work. I'm still running the companies and stuff, but doing way less than before. And sometimes I miss it. I really like being an entrepreneur, and I like being all into the nerdiness and the sales and the marketing. The structures, I love it. Yeah. And so to remember that what I'm doing now as a mom, and as I step into it, and as I step into it more, because like I said, we still want to grow our family too. It's cool to think that those gifts, everything that we're practicing right now, can full circle into the ways that you're showing up as an entrepreneur down the line. It's super inspiring to hear your story and just all the pieces that you're holding and how it all came together.
Thank you. It's always fun to talk with moms. And I love moms who are entrepreneurs because it can be a little lonely. There's not a lot of moms with 5 kids who want to scale and run business like I do. There's not a lot of pockets that I fit into, okay?
Very unique. Yes. Seriously. I know. Whenever I get to meet a new mamapreneur, I'm like, all right, let's dive in. Tell me your ways. This is amazing. Most entrepreneurs are dealing with how to level out their stress, and they don't have babies crying and sleep deprivation. So it's just so cool. So thank you so much for being on here. Are there any last words that you want to share with our listeners?
I think the last thing that I will share is that it's very easy as a mom to beat yourself up. It's very easy to find all of the gaps, as we all do. There is not one of us who can mother perfectly, correctly. There's not one of us who loves as deeply as we should. And the message for me, I think, is that if you just love yourself, love them, follow your heart, it will always bless everyone else. I watched that me following my dreams has catapulted my son into his dreams, because he's watched his mother chase her dreams so fiercely that it's like a possibility for him. And so I say, it's not one or the other. Put feet in both, love hard, and follow your heart.
So beautiful. Okay, starting off with tears, ending with tears. Oh, thank you so much for being on here. Thank you to all the listeners. We'll have all of her links below so you can check her out, follow her on social media, and all those fun things. So thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey, mamas. That's a wrap for another epic episode on Miracle Moment, the new mommy season. Catch me on the internet at Ray Ireland, sharing this wild mamapreneur life. And don't forget to check out www.rayireland.com/freebies for all the resources and support while building your soul-aligned business. Are you feeling the miracles coming your way? Stay blessed, ride this miracle vibe all day long, and remember, it's all about the journey. Catch you on the next episode.